continuing with the airport, there are many other aspects to be discussed about the airport. Let us go ahead.
The learning objectives are: one is to identify the sources of revenue for an airport, and then we need to understand the ownership of airports, to identify the components of an airport and the elements of each component within the airport, and to identify the challenges of airport sector.
As far as airport is concerned, we know that airport is also a commercial organization. Airport has to make revenue for its survival, for its competitive survival. So in order to make the revenue, it means there has to be certain kind of sources for creating revenue for the airports. How the airport is getting revenue? We said that there are different kinds of customers as far as the airport is concerned. So all the customers will be paying some kind of, they will be making some kind of payment, and all these will be the revenue for the airport. So for the airport, there are two kinds of revenue scope. One is aeronautical charges are there, and the other one is non-aeronautical. What are the aeronautical charges? Aircraft landing fee for the use of runways and taxiways is a major revenue source for the airport. An aircraft will be landing on the runway, and then it will be using the taxiway inside the airport, in the air side of the airport. So that means for utilizing these facilities of the airport, the aircraft, it is of an airline actually. So airline is a customer for the airport. So they have to make the payment to the airport. Through that, the airport will be getting certain fee, some revenue. So that is one source for revenue. So that is an aeronautical revenue for the source of income for the airport. Terminal area navigation fee for traffic management services is also there. Terminal area navigation fee is also there for the airport as a revenue source. Aircraft parking fee is also there, because during the night time when service is not there, they have to park the aircraft somewhere. So that parking fee will be collected. Apart from that, there are many other parking that will be on the land side that we'll discuss later. Hangar fee is also there. In the hangar, they may have some kind of maintenance activities for the aircraft. The hangar services facilities will be offered to the airlines. So there also they can have some income. In some airports, having certain kind of environmental issues, concerns, they may charge airport noise charge as well. So that may be there in some airport, it may not be there in each and every airport. Then passenger service charge is also there. So that is another source. So when we purchase a ticket, when a passenger is purchasing a ticket, definitely they will be contributing some amount to the as part of the airport fee. So that is another source for the airport. Cargo service charge is another one, where cargo handling is a major activity for an airport. So cargo service charge is another major income source for an airport. Security charges are there, because as far as for the nation, for the destination, for the region, and for the country, village, everything, security is very important aspect. So definitely on behalf of the government, the airport will be undertaking all the security aspects, and also they may that depends upon country to country, it may vary actually, it may not be there everywhere. Ground handling charge is another important source for revenue for the airport, because many of the airlines may not be having their own ground handling staff. In that case, what do is actually they may engage the airport to undertake all the ground handling activities. So from the airline, they may get some amount for the airport handling, ground handling activities. Apart from that, concession fees for aviation fuel, oil, whatever are there, that is another source for income for the airport. Apart from the aeronautical charges, there are certain kind of non-aeronautical charges as well. One major source of non-aeronautical charge is the commercial concession. The concessionaries, whatever that are there inside the airport, they will be contributing the rent, the fee, and everything. So that's a major income. Nowadays in the airports, there are different types of agencies functioning within an airport. There may be duty-free shops, there will be gift shops, textiles, then refreshment centers, coffee shops, restaurants, different kinds of things are there inside. So all these will have to pay certain fee as rent or charge or fee to the airport. That may be paid monthly, weekly, that depends upon contract and the agreement, the conditions in the agreement. The rental for airport land, building space and equipment, as I said, an airport will be having different other facilities and services. From every services and facilities offered, they will be getting the rental and fees in. That is another income source for the airport. Another important source is actually parking fee for the automobiles, for the cars, for the the vehicles that are being parked in the parking area. That is a major income source for airport. There will be plenty of vehicles will be parking. Fee for the provision of engineering services and reimbursable utilities is another source for income for the airport. So through these different kinds of sources, airport will be able to manage their profit. They may be able to manage their cash flow and also their investment, whatever the capital invested, they need to get the income back. So through different sources, they will be collecting the money. And naturally, they have to make profit as well. Nowadays, there is a competition. Now, we are coming to the ownership. There is a change in the case of ownership world over. We know in India also, change in ownership is happening. Once upon a time, all the airports were controlled by governments. Government agencies were the owners of the airport. But nowadays, things are different. Nowadays, public-private participation is it's a trend, in fact. Many airports are now functioning. The capital may be invested, the money amount for the investment may be done by private parties as well. Through certain kind of agreements, collaborations and corporations and all, they will be undertaking all this. So this is a type of ownership that is happening. In Kerala, in India, different airports are having these kind of, Cochin Airport is an example, CIAL, Cochin International Airport Limited. So that is, it's a participation, it's a collaboration by private sector as well as the public sector. So it is functioning in that way. So it is functioning as a company. So most of the commercial airports in the world are still functioning under the government or its agencies. It doesn't mean that privatization is completely there in all the countries. It has started, but it's in a very slow progress it is happening. In the very early stages of evolution of air transport, airports were privately owned. That means in the very beginning, the 1920s, 30s and all. Government started to take over the airports after a few decades. Sooner, governments initiated to take the control of airport along with increasing significance of air transportation. Because air transportation started to gain as a major mode of transport world over. Then they realized the significance of having airport under their control, and also security became a very important aspect. So naturally, government had the pressure to have ownership and control of all the airports. Now some of them are owned and operated directly by the government departments like Civil Aviation Authority. In India, we have an authority, Airport Authority of India. So that is functioning under Director General of Civil Aviation, DGCA. That is under the Ministry of Civil Aviation in India. So that is a Civil Aviation Authority. So these kind of authorities are there across the world. Every country will be having these kind of authorities. They will look after all the activities. In many cases, what happens is these authorities will be owning, they will be controlling, they will be ruling all the airports. In some other cases, there will be something like a supervisory body. Other agencies will be functioning the airport on behalf of them. At times, private airports are also there. It is managed by private agencies. Some are managed and operated by semi-autonomous bodies as well. Some others are operated by agencies like companies with public shareholdings on a concession basis for long periods from national governments. So that facility is also there nowadays. That system is continuing well over. Structure of an airport. Let us go. Understand what are the elements, what are the components of an airport. In order to understand the complex structure of an airport, we divide the airport into three areas. One area we call it as airside. Another area is the terminal, and one more area that is landside. So there are three areas we can easily identify, distinguish as far as an airport is concerned: airside, terminal, and landside. Now let us see what is airside, what is landside, and what is terminal. So when we have a image, what is the image as far as an airport in our minds? Usually we will be thinking about a building. So that building is actually the terminal only. It's only a building for processing the passengers and the cargo. But the other activities are done in other places. So the majority of aeronautical activities are happening in the airside. So airside is the most important area for an airport. An airside consists of runways, taxiways, aprons, ramp area, air traffic control, support services and facilities. All are there inside airside. So that is the most important area for an airport. A flight will be landing on the runway. After landing, it will be moving to taxiway. From the taxiway, it will be taxiing. It will be driven to the parking area. Usually, they will be parking. The flight will be parked on the ramp area or the apron. It is also called apron. Then there are air traffic control towers that will be controlling the navigation of the flight, and support services and facilities like fuel services, fire and safety services, electricity services. There are many other services inside the airside. So that is the most important area for an airport. So let us see, just get an introduction about what is runway, what is taxiway. Runway, we know that is the most important, most significant as part of an airport. It is a defined rectangular area on a land aerodrome prepared for the landing and takeoff of aircraft. So it is, in fact, it may by structure, it may look like a road, a tarred road or a concrete road, but it will be so strong so that the flight, when it lands, it will be having a capacity to hold the flight. The flight is so heavy, still it can hold it. That means its thickness, its width, its strength will be having that much of capacity. Taxiway. These are the paths for the aircraft to be driven to the ramp area. It will be starting from the runway. From there, it will be leading up to the ramp area. So they are created to ensure safe, smooth, expeditious movement of aircraft between the runways and the apron or other areas in the airport. So the flight after landing will be moving through the taxiway to reach the ramp area or to the other area like hangar or the parking site or wherever. So the taxiways are also very important. Usually other vehicles are not permitted inside the taxiways and in the runway. The term apron is used to refer the part of the airport other than the maneuvering area meant for parking of aircraft and to undertake turnaround activities before the next flight. So apron, usually in the Asian countries and in our area, we may using the term ramp. Ramp area is equal to apron, but in some regions it will be called as apron. In some other regions it may be called as ramp. So this is the area where the flight will be parked and all the activities associated with getting it ready for the next flight will be done on the apron. That means those activities we call it as turnaround activities. There will be so many activities. For example, offloading of the passengers, offloading of the cargo, baggage, then giving the fuel, refueling of the aircraft, giving the air conditioning services when it is parked, then providing electricity because the dynamo may not be functioning that time because engines will be off, then electricity has to be supplied, then water has to be refilled inside the bathrooms and others inside. All sort of things will be done during the turnaround time. The ramp area, in fact, it denotes a specific space where aircraft park near to a terminal to load passenger and cargo. The term ramp hardly used nowadays. Instead, the term apron is in frequent use. Hangar is an area where aircraft are stored and maintenance work is undertaken. So a flight will be taken into the hangar whenever it requires certain kind of maintenance activity. So hangar is also very important because aircraft should have very regular, routine-based and repeated maintenance activities. That activity schedule will be usually provided by the aircraft manufacturing company Air traffic control, ATC tower, it is another important area. It has lot of significance because the movement of the flight is having certain kind of control by the people inside. There will be engineers and technical people sitting on a particular area, and there will be tower as well. In the tower, they will be having sensors and other things, and there are certain kind of mechanism it can provide signals and others to the to the aircraft. And the people will be providing, they will be controlling, they will be giving instructions to the pilot for a smooth landing, for smooth takeoff and other activities. So the tower will be providing all these signals to the pilot when it is being flown. Support services and facilities are there. There are so many aspects inside the airside. These include aircraft maintenance activities, pilot services, aircraft rental services, hangar rental, and these are the most often performed by a fixed base operator that are there in the air side of it. At major airports, airlines may operate their own support facilities. Some airports, typically military air bases, have long runways used as emergency landing sites. Some of the military air bases are there that can be used for landing of other aircraft, commercial aircrafts as well. So that is all about the air side of a airport. Now we are moving on to the terminal. Terminal is actually a building. It's a building that encompasses the provisions for passenger handling and cargo processing prior to the boarding and loading into flight. This is the most visible part of an airport. So when we approach an airport, what do we see is actually the building, and that building we call it as terminal, and that is the area where passenger processing and security aspects are being controlled. Moreover, the commercial and administrative aspects are controlled, undertaken inside the terminal. Let us see what are the activities that are there in a terminal. Airlines will be making use of terminal for various activities. They can process the passengers to board flight. Processing means there are certain activities. For instance, check-in. Check-in of a customer, of a passenger, is a very important activity. The airlines will be having a counter. In the counter, the passenger can approach. The staff over there in the counter will be collecting all the travel documents. They will verify if everything is found genuine. They will issue the boarding pass. Moreover, the luggage will be weighed and they will be taken inside for loading into the aircraft. The hand baggage will be given back to the passenger along with the tag of the luggage. This boarding pass that is issued from the check-in counter is the document that is required for the entire travel. Arriving passengers can enter into a destination through the terminal. So inside the terminal, certain activities will be taking place where the visa will be, the entry will be given to the passengers, those are coming from outside. If he is a tourist, those are coming from a foreign country, definitely they have to pass through the immigration services where the visas and everything will be verified and the entry will be permitted inside. Baggage handling for departing and arriving passengers is also undertaken inside the terminal. Baggage handling is also a very important activity. The baggage should not be mishandled. It should not be misplaced. If the baggage is lost, it will be a problem for the airline. They have to pay money to the passenger if it is lost. Services and facilities for entry and exit of foreigners coming into the country or leaving a country to another country. So that means immigration activities are done inside the airport in the terminal area. Another important activity that are undertaken inside the terminal is ensuring the safety and security activities. That is very crucial nowadays. After the terrorism became a major threat in the world, safety and security aspects became very important. The screening, multi-level screening is done. Screening of hand baggage, screening of check-in baggage, screening of the person coming, screening of the staff who are coming inside. Whatever you take inside, they will be having a screen using different kinds of metal detectors and other kind of X-ray machines and other different kinds of machines will be used for that. Cargo handling is another important activity. In the terminal, usually they may have a separate area for the cargo handling activities. Shopping space is there. There is ample space for refreshments inside the airport. That is also very important from a tourism perspective. Very importantly, airport, the terminal area, they will be restricting the carriage of banned and restricted items while flying, because there are so many things that are not supposed to be carried while you are flying into a foreign country, or even when you are flying, even if it is within the country. So these kind of things can be identified inside the terminal. What are the parts of an airport terminal? Let us see the different parts. One is the baggage screening area. Baggage screening area is very important, where X-ray scanning is there. Every baggage will be screened. Then airline check-in and boarding pass collection area is there. That is another important activity. Passport control or immigration center is another area that will be there in the departure area and the terminal area. So usually a terminal is divided into two parts. One is the departure area and the other one is the terminal area. Inside the departure area also, after the check-in, you have to move to the immigration counter. In the arrival area also, the passengers, when they are offloaded from the aircraft, then they will be moving into the passport control or the immigration area, where they will be verifying all the documents. Then security check-in areas for the passengers is another important area inside the terminal. In the arrival area, the arrival gates are there. Arrival gates, you understand, but these are the areas through which the people will be, the passengers will be coming into the terminal. Then passport control and immigration area is there. Baggage claim area is there. That is an important area, because you might have given the checked-in baggage in the check-in counter. Then you will be getting those baggage only in this area when you reach the destination. So from the baggage claim area, you need to wait at a particular conveyor belt where your luggage will be coming. So you need to identify where your luggage will be coming. So it will be displayed usually, and you can understand which flights baggage are coming on particular conveyor belts. After the baggage claim area, customs clearance area is there. Customs clearance, usually they will be verifying your luggage and hand baggage, your body as well, if there is any doubt. Then if any dutiable items are there, you need to make the payment for the as duty. If any unlawful activities or any other things are there in your, then they will be questioning you further and they will be taking you into custody for further interrogation. Commercial area is there, where a lot of shops, commercial shops, then outlets of hotels, travel agencies, tour operators, rental companies, all are there in the arrival area. The third area of an airport is land side or the ground side. It is actually an area which is having, it is an open area which is having connection with the city. It's a transport area, in the sense this area is having the link, transport connectivity with the city and the other places. It is meant for the movement of ground-based vehicles, passengers and cargo from the surrounding area, from the city and to the out of the airport. Basically, this area is entry into the airport that provides access to the airport without restrictions. In some airports, there are restrictions. For example, there are some countries with lot of tourism activities. So naturally, they will be having entry restrictions over there. Along with the safe and adequate passenger and cargo drop-off facilities, it provides parking facilities as well. So that is another important area in the land side, vehicle parking area. Moreover, some commercial firms like car rental offices, restaurants, those can also be seen in the land side area. Now, let us see who are the different types of employees or the personnel working inside an airport. What is the organization structure? How an airport is functioning using the human resource? Usually an airport will be having different types of employees, personnel. Airport management personnel are there, ground transportation personnel are there, ground services personnel are there, airport maintenance personnel are there, safety and security personnel are there. So these are the different categories of employees functioning in working in a airport. Airport management personnel means these people are looking after the administrative aspects, marketing, accounting, finance, human resource management. All sort of activities are done by these employees. So any graduate or a postgraduate or MBA graduate, tourism graduate, they can all approach airport for getting job over there. Ground transportation personnel, they look after all the transportation activities in the air side. There are different kinds of vehicles will be moving over there, and also flight, landing and takeoff, plus taxi services are there inside the air side. So these staff will be looking after all these activities. Ground services personnel are there. These people will be looking after the turnaround activities connected to the flight, after the landing of the flight and before the takeoff. What are the activities they have to do? Certain different types of people are there involved out there. And also ground services staff will be there inside the airport for passenger handling and enabling the passenger to have a smooth and convenient activities within the airport. Airport maintenance personnel are there. Airport engineering as well as maintenance activities, they will be undertaking all these activities. They are responsible for this. Then another important aspect is safety and security staff. That is also very important. Then airports are usually identified through unique three-letter codes. These codes are actually provided by IATA. IATA means International Air Transport Association. So in our ticket, in our boarding pass, in most of the kind of documents that we have as part of air transportation, these codes are given. Every airport, whether it is domestic or international, if it is a commercial airport, there will be a code for that. These are basically used as a location identification or airport identification tool. In some cases, a city has different code, whereas airport will have a different code. So that is also possible. For example, Mumbai Airport, the code is BOM, but the city's name is Mumbai. Earlier, it was Bombay, so the code came from that particular word. The codes of some of the major cities, for example, ATL, that is a airport code of Atlanta International Airport in USA. PEK, Beijing Capital International Airport, China. DXB, Dubai International Airport, UAE. ORD, O'Hare International Airport, USA. HND, Tokyo Haneda Airport, Japan. LHR, London Heathrow Airport, England. In India, DEL, Delhi International Airport. Then BOM, Mumbai International Airport. So similarly, different kinds of codes are there for airports within the airport, wherever it is. LAX, Los Angeles International Airport, USA. HKG, Hong Kong International Airport, Hong Kong. CDG, the airport that in France, in Paris. IST, Istanbul Airport in Turkey. FRA, Frankfurt Airport, Germany. So these kind of different IATA codes are there, for three-letter codes are there. These are used as identification codes in the travel documents and air transport documents. Nowadays airports are facing a lot of challenges. Let us see what are the challenges facing. One is technology. Technology is a big challenge for the airports. How come it is a challenge? Because every now and then new technology is coming. Advancements are happening. When new technology is happening, the problem is airports have to adapt, integrate all the latest technology for their use, for their operation. For instance, when pandemic corona happened, new technology they had to utilize for disinfecting, then various other kind of activities. For example, nowadays touch-free passenger processing is very important. So you need to have certain kind of biometric facilities and mechanism. So all this technology the airports have. That means they need to spend a lot of money for acquiring this technology. Second one is demand variations are there. Sometimes high demand, sometimes low demand, peak demand, off demand. These kind of fluctuations, seasonality is also there. Sometimes maybe another airport will be coming nearby, so that the demand may be moving to that area, and this all the airport may be having less demand. So that is another challenge for the airport. Safety and security is very, very important aspect. Every now and then we need to enhance, beef up the security aspects. So lot many restrictions have to be done. Passengers may be quite irritated by this, because so much of restriction security aspects means it's a disturbance for the passenger. Then customer preferences and experience is also varying. Sometimes customers are highly choosy, and sometimes they will be highly experienced. So when they are very experienced, then naturally their demands will be more. When more choices are there required, then airport has to provide all these kind of varieties. Another important aspect is airport expansion. Expansion is a big problem because in many of the airports they are having demand hike because nowadays more people are traveling by airlines. So definitely airports are having some congestion, crowding, and more airlines are there. So there is no enough slot, runway congestion, crowding is there. So many difficulties. So airport has to expand. Expansion of airport means lot of capital is required and also more land is required. So acquiring land is a political issue in most of the cases. Environmental considerations are also there. So these kind of challenges are a big challenge for the airports nowadays. And also the latest aircraft, they need larger runways and wider runways. For example, A380 of Airbus, it requires a very large, very long runway, and its width is also almost double of the common runway. So naturally, they have to have a new runway for accommodating the latest aircraft. Environmental considerations is another important issue. How to control the noise issues, how to control other kind of aspects connected to ecosystems and all. That is another challenge for the airports nowadays. Operation and management aspects are there. They need to have proper planning, proper scientific management aspects and everything. So that is another challenge. Creating revenue is also a challenge because airports are nowadays, they are having plenty of facilities and services. So they need to create a lot of revenue as well. More staff is required. They need to pay salary. Very important, most importantly, competition is a major challenge. Airports are having competition. For example, Singapore Airport is having high competition with Dubai Airport and Hong Kong Airport. These three airports are having tough competition. Again, Dubai Airport has very tough competition with Riyadh Airport and other airports. For example, in Kuwait Airport also. Then Doha Airport also, it is also very good airport. This kind of competition is there nowadays. So that is why Dubai is going for a new airport. They are having Al Maktoum Airport, that's a new one, which is almost like a city. So competition is increasing in the airport sector as well.
Let us conclude. Airport has multiple sources of revenue that are categorized into aeronautical and non-aeronautical sources. Most of the airports are owned by governments or its agencies, but nowadays privatization is increasing in the airport sector as well. Airport has three functional components such as airside, terminal and landside. Airside is the most important component in an airport, in which all the flight activities including landing and takeoff takes place. In the terminal, the passenger processing is a prime task, and also cargo processing takes place in a dedicated space over there. The land side is mainly for the purpose of accessibility. It connects airport with the rest of the parts of the city. Airports nowadays face multiple challenges including technological, capacity related and socio-economic and the like. By this, let us conclude this unit.